Let's talk about something real, something that keeps you up at night. You work hard, you put in the hours, you sacrifice. And yet, no matter what you do, financial freedom always feels just out of reach. Why? It's not because you aren't trying, it's not because you aren't smart enough. The problem is deeper than that. It's how you think about money, how you handle it, and how you let it handle you. Money isn't just numbers in a bank account, it's control. And right now, for too many people, it's the one thing they never truly have control over. They live paycheck to paycheck, hoping for a break, waiting for that next raise, dreaming of a day when they can finally breathe. But that day never comes because they're stuck in a system designed to keep them running, not winning. The truth is, financial freedom isn't about how much you make, it's about how much you keep, how you use it, and whether you're making your money work for you or if you're just working for it. You've heard it before, work hard, and you'll be successful. It sounds good, but let's be honest, how many people do you know who work themselves to exhaustion and still struggle? How many people do you know who give their all to a job only to feel stuck in the same place year after year? Effort alone doesn't guarantee success. If hard work was the answer, construction workers and factory workers would be the wealthiest people on the planet. But they aren't. Why? Because effort without direction is just movement. And movement without progress is a trap. Most people are caught in this cycle. They believe that working harder is the key, so they push themselves to the limit, long hours, overtime, second jobs, thinking that one day all this work will pay off. But it never does. Because they're still trading their time for money instead of learning how to make money work for them. The real winners, they aren't the ones working the longest hours. They're the ones who understand leverage. They use knowledge, skills, and strategy to multiply their efforts. They build systems, invest wisely, and learn how to create income streams that don't rely on their constant labor. If you're stuck in the grind, ask yourself, are you really getting ahead? Or are you just running in place, hoping that one day something will magically change? Let me tell you something that might hurt a little. Your effort is not enough. If it were, you already be want to be. Effort is important, but without the right mindset and actions, it's like running on a treadmill. You're sweating, you're exhausted, but you're not actually going anywhere. So what needs to change? First, how you see money. If you think money is just something you earn and spend, you'll always be stuck in the loop. But if you start seeing money as a tool that can grow, a tool that can create more opportunities, then everything shifts. Second, how you use it. Look around. Are you buying things that make you look successful? Or are you investing in things that actually make you successful? The wealthy don't spend money the way most people do. They don't buy liabilities. They buy assets, things that put money back into their pockets instead of taking it out. And third, how you learn. If you're not actively learning about money, how to save it, how to invest it, how to multiply it, then you're always going to be at the mercy of those who do. Because the truth is, there are people out there who understand money better than you. And they're the ones collecting interest while you're the one paying it. So stop thinking that more effort is the answer. The answer is in working smarter, not just harder. It's in changing your mindset, learning new skills, and taking control of your financial future instead of letting it control you. You don't have to be stuck forever, but you do have to change something. Because you'll keep working, keep grinding, and keep watching financial freedom slip just out of reach. The question is, are you ready to stop running in circles and start actually moving forward? How many times have you told yourself this? That just a little more money will finally give you peace, security, freedom. You work harder, put in longer hours, push yourself to the edge, all because you believe that once you hit that next level, life will magically change. But let me tell you something, that next level never comes. You get a raise and suddenly your expenses rise to match it. You upgrade your car, your home, your lifestyle, because after all, you can afford it now. But are you really free? Or have you just built yourself a bigger cage? This is the trap so many people fall into. They think freedom is a number that once they reach it, the stress will disappear. But freedom isn't about how much you earn. It's about how much control you have over your life. You see, the real problem isn't income, it's the illusion that more income is the answer. Because no matter how much you make, if you don't control how you use it, you'll always feel like you're one step behind. Think about it. How many high-earning professionals still live paycheck to paycheck? How many celebrities, athletes, and business owners have made millions only to end up bankrupt? If more money was truly the answer, wouldn't they all be set for life? You don't break free by making more. You break free by mastering what you already have. There's a difference between looking rich and being wealthy. Looking rich means having the latest gadgets, the flashy car, the expensive vacations. Being wealthy means having the freedom to walk away from anything that no longer serves you. It means not living in fear of the next bill, the next emergency, the next downturn. And here's the hard truth: higher income doesn't automatically bring that kind of security. Because the moment your spending rises with your earnings, you're stuck in the same cycle, just with bigger numbers. People assume a bigger paycheck means they're better off. But if every dollar you earn already has a destination before it even hits your account, what has really changed? Look around. How many people in high-paying jobs are stressed? That's exhausted and trapped. They're earning more, but they've just traded one set of chains for another. The house, the car, the lifestyle, it all comes with a price. A price that keeps them working longer, harder, just to keep up. True wealth isn't measured by income. It's measured by what you can keep, what you can grow, and what you can walk away from. Chasing a bigger paycheck sounds like a smart move until you realize what it's costing you. It costs you time, the late nights, the weekends spent working instead of living, the moments with family and friends that you can't get back. It costs you health, the stress, the pressure, the burnout, the quiet sacrifices you make: sleep, exercise, mental peace, but you just need to push a little longer. And worst of all, it costs you control. Because the moment you depend entirely on that next paycheck, you've given up your power. You're no longer working because you want to, you're working because you have to. This is why so many people wake up years later wondering where all their time went. They spent their best years chasing numbers, only to realize that freedom was never in the numbers, it was in the choices they made along the way. So stop waiting for the next raise, the next promotion, the next big break to save you. Because if you don't change how you manage your life now, no amount of money will ever be enough. Wealth isn't about working more, it's about working smarter. It's about knowing when enough is enough. And most of all, it's about refusing to trade your life away for a paycheck that will never truly set you free. Look around, and you'll see it everywhere: people grinding day in and day out, putting in long hours, pushing their limits. They wake up early, stay up late, hustle harder than ever. Yet despite all that effort, they're still struggling to make ends meet, still drowning in debt, still stuck in the same cycle month after month, year after year. Why? If working hard was the answer, wouldn't they all be rich by now? Let me tell you something: effort alone doesn't guarantee success. The world doesn't reward sweat, it rewards results. You can work yourself into exhaustion, but if you're on the wrong path, it won't matter how hard you push. Think about it. There are construction workers breaking their backs for pennies. Teachers putting in extra hours for barely enough to survive. Nurses, drivers, factory workers, people working harder than most of us could even imagine, yet they still struggle. So the real question isn't, are you working hard? It's, are you working the right way? Because hard work alone won't change your life. Smart work will. More hours, more effort, more hustle. That's what they tell you, right? That success comes from putting in more than the next person. Well, let's get real. There are only 24 hours in a day. No matter how much you push, you can't outwork time. So if your plan is just to work harder, you're setting yourself up to fail. Smart work isn't about doing more. It's about doing what actually moves the needle. Think about the richest people in the world. They don't work the longest hours. They don't take on the most tasks. They focus on the few things that bring the biggest results. They make their time work for them instead of trading every hour for a paycheck. Take two people, one spends 12 hours a day working a job that barely pays the bills. The other spends 6 hours learning a new skill, building something valuable, or investing their money wisely. Who do you think wins in the long run? The person who learns how to make their effort count. The one who understands that time isn't just something you spend, it's something you invest. Because at the end of the day, it's not about how much you do. It's about whether what you're doing is actually getting you where you want to go. You've been told that if you just work harder, success will come. That if you just grind long enough, things will magically fall into place. But here's the truth most people don't want to hear: working hard in the wrong direction is no different than standing still. You can climb the tallest ladder, but if it's leaning against the wrong wall, you're just getting further away from where you actually need to be. That's why so many people push for years and see nothing change. They never stop to ask, is this even the right path? Is this leading me to real freedom or just keeping me stuck? Hard work without a plan is like running on a treadmill. No matter how fast you go, you're still in the same place. So what's the solution? Stop running blindly, start moving with purpose. Learn the skills that matter. Put your energy where it actually pays off. Focus on what creates real growth, not just what keeps you busy. Because effort alone won't get you ahead, but effort combined with the right strategy, that's what separates those who stay stuck from those who finally break free. Think back to all those years you spent in school. They taught you how to solve for X, memorize historical dates, and write essays on books you barely remember. But did anyone ever teach you how money actually works? How to build wealth? How to manage debt? No, because the system isn't designed to make you rich. It's designed to make you a worker. To keep you in line, following the same old script, go to school, get a job, earn a paycheck, and spend your life making just enough to survive. That's why so many people struggle. Not because they aren't smart, not because they aren't working hard, but because they were never given the tools to win. Schools don't teach you how to invest. They don't teach you how to build assets, create multiple income streams, or escape the paycheck to paycheck cycle. Instead, they teach you how to be a perfect employee, someone who shows up on time, does the work, and never asks too many questions. But let me ask you something. If the people teaching you aren't wealthy themselves, why would you follow their advice? If you want to break free, you need to unlearn the rules they gave you and start learning the ones that actually build wealth. Because the world won't hand you financial freedom, you have to take it. If you want to change your life, you have to change the way you think about money. Most people see money as something you earn and spend. Something that comes in, goes out, and hopefully lasts long enough until the next paycheck. That's why they stay broke, because they treat money like something temporary instead of something that should work for them. Wealthy people think differently. They don't see money as something to trade for nicer cars, bigger houses, or expensive vacations. They see it as a tool, something to grow, invest, and multiply. This one shift changes everything. Instead of asking, how much do I make? Start asking, how much do I keep? How much is growing for me? How much am I using to create more income? That's the difference between those who struggle their whole lives and those who break free. It's not luck, it's not privilege, it's knowing the right way to use money. If you don't learn this, you'll spend your whole life working for money. But if you do, you can make money work for you. Let's be real, the rich don't play the same game as everyone else. They don't work for money the way most people do. They don't trade time for paychecks. They don't save pennies while inflation eats away at their earnings. They use different rules. They own businesses instead of relying on a job. They invest instead of just saving. They understand that wealth isn't built by working more, it's built by owning things that make money even when they're not working. But here's what no one tells you: you can play by these rules too. You don't have to be born into wealth. You don't have to wait for some perfect moment. You just have to start thinking like an owner instead of a worker. Start learning how to invest. Start finding ways to earn without trading every hour of your time. Start making your money work so you don't have to work forever, because the game isn't fair, but once you learn the rules, you can win too. If you've ever felt like you're running in circles, working harder but never getting ahead, you're not alone. Millions of people are stuck in that same cycle, grinding day after day, yet struggling to build anything lasting. But here's the truth, not just about effort, it's about direction. Imagine you're paddling a boat as hard as you can, but you're going the wrong way. No matter how much energy you put in, you'll never reach your destination. That's exactly what happens when people follow the wrong financial path. What's keeping you stuck? Maybe it's living paycheck to paycheck. Maybe it's debt piling up. Maybe it's believing that working more hours is the only way to earn more. But here's the key: you don't break free by working harder. You break free by working smarter. The first step is realizing that money is not just something you earn, it's something you control. It's not just about how much you make, it's about how you use what you have. Start tracking where your money goes. Start questioning every expense. Start thinking about how your money can grow instead of just disappear. Because once you understand this, you stop being trapped. You stop chasing money and you start making it work for you. Most people think the only way to get rich is to work more. That's why they stay broke. Wealthy people don't trade time for money, they trade money for more money. They invest. They build, they own things that pay them even when they sleep. Think about this: two people make the same salary. One spends it all on things that lose value: cars, clothes, entertainment. The other uses that same money to buy assets, stocks, real estate, a small business. Fast forward 5 years, one person is still working just to survive. They built something that brings them money without them lifting a finger. That's the difference. It's not about working harder. It's about shifting your mindset. Stop thinking like an owner. Stop spending just to survive and start using money to create more income. You don't have to be born rich to do this. You don't need a special degree, you just need to change how you see money. Because once you do, you stop working for money and money starts working for you. Let's be honest. Most people won't do this. Most people will hear these words, feel inspired for a moment, and then go back to their old habits. Why? Because change is uncomfortable. Because doing things differently takes effort. But here's the real question: do you want to stay where you are? Or do you want to break free? Because once you see money differently, you can never go back. Once you realize that working more isn't the answer, you'll start to paychecks and start chasing ownership. This is your moment. The choice is yours. You can keep playing the same game, following the same rules, and getting the same results. Or you can take control, learn what the rich already know, and start building wealth on your own terms. The world doesn't reward effort alone. It rewards those who understand the game and play it wisely. So the question is, are you ready? Because if you are, everything can change starting today. For decades, we've been told the same thing: work hard, save your money, and one day you'll retire comfortably. That's the promise, right? But let's be honest, how often does that actually happen? Look around. How many people do you know who followed this formula and still struggle? People who gave their best years to a job, saved every penny they could, yet barely scraped by in retirement. They did everything right, but somehow the math doesn't add up. Here's the hard truth: this formula was built for a different time. A time when a single income could support a family, when pensions actually meant something, when the cost of living wasn't climbing faster than wages. But today, working hard and saving a little each month won't magically set you free. It keeps you stuck. Because here's what they don't tell you: no one builds real wealth just by working hard. They build it by working smart. They build it by making their money work for them instead of just working for money. So if you've been following this outdated formula, hoping it will lead you somewhere different, it's time to wake up. The world has changed. The way wealth is built has changed. And if you don't change with it, you'll be left behind. We love the idea that effort equals reward. That if you just put in the hours, if you just grind harder, the universe will somehow notice and reward you. But let's be real, if that were true, the hardest working people would be the richest. And we all know that's not the case. Effort alone doesn't build wealth, strategy does. Understanding how money moves, how to multiply what you have, how to stop trading all your time for a paycheck, that's what builds wealth. But most people don't realize they're in a trap. They believe that working harder is the solution, when in reality it's the very thing keeping them stuck. They sacrifice their health, their relationships, their freedom, only to wake up years later with nothing to show for it except exhaustion. It's not that hard work isn't important, it is. But if all you do is work without learning how to leverage what you earn, you'll stay exactly where you are. Effort without direction is wasted motion. The world doesn't pay you for how hard you try. It pays you for the value you create. And if you don't know how to turn your effort into something bigger than a paycheck, you'll never break free from this trap. Think about the hardest working people you know, the ones who wake up before the sun, who put in long hours, who never stop moving. Are they wealthy? Chances are they're not. And that's because wealth isn't built through sweat alone. It's built through decisions. The richest people don't necessarily work harder than everyone else, but they do think differently. They understand that time is more valuable than money. They know that real success comes from ownership, not just effort. Meanwhile, most people are stuck in a cycle, trading time for money, paycheck to paycheck, thinking that if they just put in a little more effort, things will get better. But effort without the right moves is just running in place. The truth is, wealth isn't about how hard you work, it's about what you work on. It's about where you put your focus. The richest people have learned how to make money work for them instead of constantly working for money. And until you make that shift, no amount of effort will change your situation. It's time to stop believing that grinding harder is the answer. Start asking yourself, what am I building? What am I investing in? What am I creating that will continue to grow even when I stop working? Because if you don't change the way you think about money, you'll spend your whole life working harder for something that was never designed to set you free. You've been told that if you work hard enough, you'll earn more. That if you put in extra hours, take on more responsibility, or prove yourself, the money will follow. But if that were true, wouldn't the hardest working people be the wealthiest? The reality is, income isn't how hard you work, it's based on leverage. The more leverage you have, the more you earn. Think about this: a construction worker sweats in the sun all day, lifting bricks, pouring concrete, pushing their body to the limit. Meanwhile, the person who owns the company is sitting in an office making 100 times more. Why? Leverage. The business owner has systems. They have employees, assets, and investments working for them. They are not trading time for money. Their income is not limited to the hours they can physically work. Leverage is about making your efforts count for more than just a paycheck. It's about putting yourself in a position where your time multiplies, where your money grows even when you're not working, where you own something instead of just being a worker in someone else's system. If you don't have leverage, your effort is capped. No matter how hard you try, there's a limit to what you can earn. because you only have so many hours in the day. But the moment you start thinking differently about ownership, investments, creating instead of just working, you step into a game where the rules are in your favor. The question is, are you going to keep playing small? Or are you ready to build something bigger than just a paycheck? Most people don't realize they're stuck in a cycle. They wake up, go to work, collect the paycheck, pay their bills, and do it all over again. But here's the problem. If your money stops the moment you stop working, you're not in control, your job is. Wages are a trap because they convince you that you're earning a living when in reality, you're just surviving. You trade your time for a fixed amount, no matter how valuable your work actually is. The company you work for makes the real profit. Think about this, you work 8, 10, maybe 12 hours a day, but no matter how hard you push, your paycheck doesn't suddenly double. You don't get paid based on the actual value you create, you get paid what your employer decides you're worth. Meanwhile, the people at the top, they don't trade time for money, they own the system. They set the wages, they build things that pay them whether they're working or not. If you want real freedom, you need to stop thinking like an employee and start thinking like an owner. You need to build something that pays you even when you sleep. Because as long as your income depends on you showing up every day, you'll always be one bad month, one layoff, one emergency away from being broke. The only way out, stop depending on wages alone. Start building income streams that don't rely on you clocking in every morning. Let's be honest, when you work hard, it wins. You might get a small raise, a pat on the back, maybe even a promotion. But who really benefits? The company gets richer. The owners get wealthier. The investors see bigger returns. And you get just enough to keep showing up. Here's what they don't tell you. The system isn't designed to make you rich. It's designed to keep you working. Your boss isn't going to pay you what you're truly worth because that would cut into their profits. Think about it, if you could double your income overnight, would your employer voluntarily pay you more? No, because your salary isn't based on what you deserve. It's based on what they can get away with paying you. This is why the wealth gap keeps growing. The people at the top own assets, investments, and businesses. The people at the bottom trade their time for a paycheck. So ask yourself, who is winning from your hard work? And more importantly, when are you going to either start working for yourself instead of making someone else rich? You've been told that working harder is the answer. That if you just put in more hours, if you grind a little longer, if you push through the exhaustion, you'll get ahead. But look around, is that really working? People are working more than ever. They wake up early, stay late, check emails on weekends, skip vacations. Yet despite all of that, most still struggle. The bills keep coming, the stress piles up. The dream of financial freedom seems just as far away as it was years ago. Why? Because working harder in a broken system doesn't fix the system, it just drains you faster. Imagine running on a treadmill, you're sweating, pushing yourself to the limit, but no matter how fast you go, you're still in the same place. That's what happens when you trade more time for the same paycheck. More hours don't lead to wealth, they lead to burnout. Real success isn't about working yourself into the ground. It's about working smarter. It's about building something that grows beyond just your effort. If you're constantly exhausted, but your bank account still looks the same, that's a sign. Not to work harder, but to rethink the game you're playing. Everywhere you look, people are busy. They rush to work, race through their to-do list, try to balance everything, thinking that if they just keep moving, they'll eventually get to where they want to be. But ask yourself, how many of them are actually getting ahead? Most people aren't moving towards success. They're just moving, running in circles, stuck in a cycle that keeps them working just enough to survive, but never enough to truly be free. This happens because the system was built to keep people in motion, not to help them arrive. You're told to get a job, work hard, and save for retirement. But what they tell you is that this knife wasn't designed, it was designed to keep you dependent. Think about it. If working hard alone led to financial success, wouldn't the hardest working people be the richest? Wouldn't the person pulling 12-hour shifts in a factory or the single parent working 2 jobs be set for life? But that's not how it works. The truth is, most people never stop to question the game they're playing. They follow the rules they were given without asking, is this actually leading me to the life I want? So ask yourself, are you running towards something real, or are you just running because that's what you were told to do? If you want to escape, the first step is understanding that the game was never made for you to win by working harder. It was made for you to stay in place while those at the top benefit. But here's the good news, you don't have to play by those rules. The people who break free don't do it by clocking in more hours. They do it by learning how money actually works. They stop thinking like workers and start thinking like owners. They invest, they build. They find ways to make money work for them instead of just working for money. Look at the wealthiest people. Do they spend all their time working for someone else? No, they own businesses. They invest in assets. They create things that continue to make money even when they're not actively working. That's the key. If your only income comes from your time, you will always be limited. But when you create something that generates money beyond just your effort, whether it's a business, an investment, or an idea, you start shifting the balance in your favor. Escaping the grind doesn't mean you stop working, it means you start working differently. You stop running in circles and start moving with purpose. You stop following the script they gave you and start writing your own. The choice is simple: keep grinding in a system that wasn't built for you, or start learning how to build something for yourself. Most people spend their lives asking the wrong question. They wake up every morning thinking, how can I make more money? They believe that if they can just find a way to earn a little more, things will get better. But let me tell you something, this question keeps you stuck, because when you ask, how can I make more money? What you're really asking is, how can I work harder? And we've already talked about this. More work doesn't mean more freedom. It just means more stress. The right question isn't about making more money, it's about making money work for you. Look at the richest people in the world. Do they wake up every day thinking about working more hours? No, they think about how to turn what they already have into something bigger. They don't just work for money, they make money work for them. So instead of asking, how can I earn more? Start asking, how can I use what I have to create more? That's the shift that changes everything. Most people spend their whole lives chasing money and they never catch it. They run from paycheck to paycheck, job to job, hoping that someday things will finally be different. But money is like a shadow. The harder you chase it, the further it moves away. Wealthy people don't chase money. They attract it. They build systems, create assets, and invest in things that grow over time. Think about planting a tree. If you plant the right seed and take care of it, eventually it grows big enough to give you fruit for the rest of your life. That's what smart money decisions do. They give you something that keeps producing even when you're not constantly working for it. But most people never plant that seed. They spend their whole lives picking fruit from other people's trees, working for someone else, building someone else's wealth, never stopping to ask, how can I grow my own? If you want real freedom, stop chasing and start building. Stop trading time for money and start creating something that pays you back. That's the difference between struggling forever and finally getting ahead. The biggest difference between rich and poor isn't luck, talent, or even hard work. It's mindset. Wealthy people don't see money the same way most people do. They don't just see it as something to spend, they see it as a tool. A tool to buy time, to create opportunities, to multiply. Most people see money as something they have to earn, spend, and then earn again. The rich see money as something that can work on its own. Think about this: if you take $100 and spend it, it's gone forever. But if you take that same $100 and invest it into something that grows, it can eventually turn into $1,000. And if you keep making the right moves, that $1,000 can turn into $10,000. That's the mindset shift that changes everything. The wealthy understand that it's not about how much money you make, it's about what you do with what you have. They don't waste money on things that don't pay them back. They don't trade all their time for someone else's dream. They put their energy into things that grow, things that give them freedom. And the truth is, you can do the same. But it starts with changing how you think. Because if you keep thinking like everyone else, you'll keep getting the same results as everyone else. But if you start thinking like the people who are broken free, you'll start moving in that direction too. Most people don't realize they're trapped. They wake up, go to work, pay bills, and repeat the cycle year after year. And they think that's just how life is supposed to be. But let me ask you something: when was the last time you stopped and really questioned it? Because the truth is, most of what people accept as normal is just an illusion. The idea that working harder automatically leads to success, that's an illusion. The idea that if you just make a little more money, everything will be fine, another illusion. The first step to change is recognizing that you've been following a script that someone else wrote. A script designed to keep you busy, tired, and too distracted to think about a different way of living. Awareness is the key. Because once you see the pattern, you can break it. Look at people who have broken free from this cycle. They weren't any smarter than you. They weren't born lucky. The only difference, they realized the game they were playing and they stopped following the rules that were holding them back. Now it's your turn. But first you have to see the illusion for what it is. There's one simple difference between those who stay broke and those who build real wealth. It's not about how much money you make, it's about how you use it. You can give two people the same amount of money, and within a year, one will have more and the other will have less. Why? Because one understands how to multiply it, and the other only knows how to spend it. Most people are taught to trade time for money. The wealthy know that money itself can be put to work. Think of it like this: if you only make money through your own effort, you're on a treadmill. The moment you stop running, everything stops. But if you put your money into things that grow investment skills, business, you create something that moves even when you don't. That's the difference. The rich don't just work for money. They make money work for them. And here's the best part: this isn't something only a few people can do. Anyone can start thinking this way. Anyone can make this shift. The question is, will you? If you're tired of running in circles, if you're done playing the same game with the same results, then it's time to take the first real step. And that step is simple: stop doing what everyone else is doing. Look around. The majority of people are stuck in the same place, struggling with the same problems. So why would you follow their path? If you want different results, you need to take a different approach. Start small. Look at where your money is going. Instead of spending every extra dollar, start putting some aside to invest. Learn about money. Not just how to earn it, but how to use it. Surround yourself with people who think differently, people who are building, growing, moving forward. And most importantly, stop waiting for the right time to start. The perfect moment doesn't exist. The only time you have is right now. Step off the wheel. Take control. And start building a future that actually belongs to you. Let's be real for a second. If hard work alone made people rich, every construction worker, every factory worker, every farmer breaking their back from sunrise to sunset would be swimming in wealth. But they're not. Look around. How many people do you know who work endless hours, pushing themselves to the limit, yet barely scrape by? They put in the effort. They sacrifice sleep. They do everything they're told, so why aren't they thriving? Because hard work by itself isn't enough. It never was, it never will be. Hard work is like fuel. It can power you forward, but without direction, it's just wasted energy. You can run as fast as you want, but if you're on the wrong path, you'll never reach the destination you're chasing. So before you tell yourself that grinding harder is the answer, ask yourself, are you running on a treadmill, or are you actually moving forward? Effort is important. No one is saying you shouldn't work hard, but effort without leverage is like pushing a boulder up a mountain with your bare hands. It's exhausting, and it gets you nowhere. What is leverage? It's using the right tools, the right skills, the right knowledge, and the right people to make your effort actually count. It's the difference between lifting a heavy weight with your raw strength versus using a pulley system that multiplies your power. Think about this: two people can spend the same 10 hours working. One digs ditches all day and barely makes enough to survive. The other builds a system that makes money even while they sleep. The first is all effort, no leverage. The second is effort multiplied by leverage. Guess who gets ahead? Now here's the part most people don't want to hear. Leverage requires learning. It requires thinking. It requires stepping back and figuring out how to make your work matter. The question isn't how hard are you working? The question is, how much impact is your work actually creating? There's a big difference between being busy and being productive. Some people spend their whole lives grinding, working nonstop, always exhausted, always chasing something just out of reach. But at the end of the day, they have nothing to show for it. Grinding is like running in circles. You're moving, you're sweating, you're putting in the hours, but what are you actually building? Builders think differently. They don't just do work for the sake of doing it. They put their energy into things that grow, things that create results, things that move them forward. A builder doesn't just work a job, they learn skills that make them valuable. A builder doesn't just save money, they find ways to multiply it. A builder doesn't just do what they're told, they figure out how to do what actually works. So ask yourself, are you just working to stay afloat? Or are you building something that will lift you up? Because if all you're doing is grinding without direction, you're just burning yourself out for nothing. There's a rule about wealth that nobody teaches you in school. A rule that separates those who struggle from those who succeed. And here's the truth: wealth isn't just about working hard, it's about understanding how money actually moves. Most people spend their entire lives chasing money the wrong way. They think if they just work more, sacrifice more, grind harder, the money will follow. But it doesn't. Because wealth doesn't flow to those who work the hardest, it flows to those who understand how to create value. Look at the wealthiest people in the world. Do they work the longest hours? Do they wake up at 4 a.m. just to grind harder than the next person? No, they've learned how to make money work for them instead of trading their life away chasing it. The hidden rule is this: money follows value. The more value you create, the more money you attract. Not the more hours you work, not the more sweat you pour into something. Just effort alone won't make you rich. Understanding how to turn that effort into something bigger will. If you don't learn this rule, you'll always be stuck in survival mode, working harder but never actually getting ahead. But think about this, if your income depends on how many hours you work, you are trapped. Because you only have so many hours in a day. There's a ceiling to what you can earn. And no matter how hard you work, no matter how much you sacrifice, you can't break that limit. That's why so many people work 2, even 3 jobs just to keep their heads above water. They're trading their most valuable resource, time, for money. And time is something you can never get back. Meanwhile, the people who truly build wealth, they don't trade hours for dollars. They build systems, create assets, and find ways to make money flow to them whether they're working or not. Think of it like this, a doctor might make good money, but if they stop working, their income stops. A business owner, on the other hand, can set up something once, an online store, an investment in product, and it keeps making money even when they're sleeping. That's the difference. The more your income depends on your time, the more stuck you are. If you want to break free, you need to stop thinking like a worker and start thinking like an owner. You need to find ways to earn without being chained to the clock. Working hard is important, but working smart is what changes everything. The difference between those who struggle and those who succeed isn't just effort, it's where they put that effort. A person digging with a spoon will never beat someone using a shovel. And someone using a shovel will never beat someone using a machine. The tool you use, the system you build, the knowledge you apply, that's what makes the difference. So how do you work smarter? You stop focusing on doing more and start focusing on doing what actually moves the needle. Instead of working overtime for extra pay, learn a skill that doubles your value. Instead of saving every dollar, figure out how to invest it so it grows on its own. Instead of relying on a paycheck, find ways to make money that doesn't depend on your time. This is the shift that separates those who stay stuck from those who break free. The ones who never get ahead are the ones who just keep grinding. The ones who rise up with a sewer stop just working and start building. So ask yourself, are you just putting in effort? Or are you putting in effort that actually builds something bigger? Because if you don't make this shift, you'll spend your whole life working hard and still have nothing to show for it. If making money was just about working harder, the richest people in the world would be laborers. But they're not. Because they don't trade time for money, they trade value for money. Think about it. If someone pays you by the hour, they're buying your time, not your ideas, not your impact, just your time. And that means you'll always be limited. There are only 24 hours in a day. And no matter how much you hustle, you can't stretch that limit. But the wealthiest people, they understand that time is a terrible currency to trade. They don't sell their hours, they build something at once that pays them over and over again. Imagine people, one works 12-hour shifts every day. The other spends a year creating a business, a product, an investment, something that runs on its own. The first person gets a paycheck. The second person builds something that keeps generating money even while they sleep. That's the difference. One is a worker, the other is a builder. And if you want to change your financial future, you need to stop thinking like a worker and start thinking like a builder. Wealth isn't about working harder, it's about setting up systems that work for you. Look at the most successful people in any industry. They're not spending their days clocking in and out. They've built businesses that make money whether they're there or not. They've created systems that do the work for them. What does this actually mean? It means instead of selling time, they sell products, investments, knowledge, things that don't depend on them being present every second. Take an author, for example, they write a book once and it sells for years. A musician records a song once and it gets played for decades. An investor puts money into a project that grows on its own. This is the mindset shift. Instead of thinking, how can I work more? Start asking, how can I set up something that works without me? Automation is another key. The wealthiest people don't handle every task themselves. They create systems that run smoothly without their constant attention. They use technology, delegate work, and build processes that free them up to focus on the big picture. You don't need to be a billionaire to start thinking this way. If you own a small business, how can you automate part of it? If you work a job, how can you invest your earnings into something that grows over time? If you're selling your skills, how can you package them in a way that scales? The answer isn't to work harder forever. It's to build something that works even when you're not. Look at the most successful entrepreneurs in the world. Do you think Elon Musk gets paid by the hour? Do you think Jeff Bezos built Amazon by working overtime shifts? No, they understood something most people don't. Wealth isn't about what you do, it's about what you build. Elon Musk doesn't manufacture Tesla cars himself. Jeff Bezos doesn't personally pack Amazon orders. What they do is much bigger. They create systems that allow money, ideas, and resources to move efficiently. Musk focuses on innovation. He builds industries, not just businesses. Bezos mastered efficiency. He turned a simple online bookstore into a global empire by focusing on automation and scale. But let's bring it down to a level you can use. What's the real lesson here? It says if you want more than just a paycheck, you have to think beyond just working. You have to think about creating something bigger than yourself. You don't need to be a billionaire to apply this. If you run a business, ask yourself, how can I scale this beyond my own time? If you work a job, ask, how can I use my income to build something that grows? The key lesson from the world's richest entrepreneurs is simple. Stop selling hours. Start building assets. Because at the end of the day, those who build win. Every day, millions of people wake up, go to work, put in the hours, and come home. They repeat this cycle for years, thinking they're making progress. But let me ask you, are you actually building something? Or are you just showing up? There's a difference between working and building leverage. Working means you trade time for money. Leverage means you set up something that works for you, even when you're not there. If you stop working today, will your income stop too? If the answer is yes, then you don't have leverage, you have a job. And a job, no matter how high paying, will always have limits. But leverage is what turns effort into results that keep growing. It's why one person can work 40 hours a week and struggle, while another works the same 40 hours, but builds something that multiplies over time. Think about this. A real estate investor buys a property once, and it pays them for years. The business owner builds a system that runs whether they are there or not. An online creator makes a digital product that sells while they sleep. Now look at your own life. Are you just showing up, or are you building something that lasts? Wealth isn't built on paychecks, it's built on ownership. The wealthiest people own things, businesses, stocks, real estate, intellectual property. They don't just work for money, they put their money to work for them. An employee earns a paycheck. A business owner earns from everything their company produces. A landlord gets paid whether the tenants go to work or not. An investor profits from assets that grow without their daily involvement. Ownership means control. When you own assets, you decide what happens. No boss, no paycheck limits, no permission needed. You don't need to wait for a raise. Your income grows based on what you build. Passive income is the result of smart ownership. It's money that flows in without you having to trade hours for it. It could come from rental parties, dividends, royalties, automated businesses, anything that keeps paying you long after the work is done. So ask yourself, are you building ownership, or are you just renting your time to someone else? Because if all your income depends on you working, you're not in control. And real freedom only comes when your money isn't tied to your hours. This is the question that changes everything. If you stopped working today, what would happen? For most people, the answer is simple. The money stops, the bills pile up, the stress kicks in. And that's because they built a life that depends entirely on trading time for money. But imagine a different reality. Imagine waking up and knowing your bills are covered, not because you worked yesterday, but because you built something that keeps paying you. Imagine having the choice to work, not because you have to, but because you want to. That's what happens when you stop getting paid by the hour and start building income that isn't tied to your time. Think about this, a person who owns an apartment complex gets paid whether they're working or not. An author who wrote a book years ago still earns from every copy sold today. A person who invests and sees their money grow without lifting a finger. This isn't just for billionaires, it's for anyone willing to shift their mindset. If you start focusing on assets instead of just paychecks, your entire life can change. So here's the real question, are you going to keep selling hours, or are you going to stop thinking like an employee, start thinking like a creator? Let me ask you something, do you wake up every day waiting for instructions, or do you wake up ready to build? Because that's the difference between those who follow and those who create. If you want more out of life, you have to stop thinking like an employee and start thinking like a creator. An employee waits to be told what to do. A creator finds a way, makes a way, and refuses to be boxed in. An employee looks at their paycheck and thinks, this is what I'm worth. A creator looks at their skills, their ideas, their time, and asks, how can I multiply this? Look at the people who changed the world. Do you think they waited for permission? Do you think they played it safe? No, they took risks, they built things, they solved problems. And guess what? The world rewarded them more. Because the world doesn't pay for effort, it pays for results. Stop thinking about what your boss wants. Stop waiting for a raise, a promotion, or some kind of approval. Start thinking about what you can create that has value beyond a job title. Start thinking like someone who owns their future, not someone renting their time to the highest bidder. You have skills, knowledge, and experience, but the real question is, are you using them to build your own path, or are you just clocking in and out, making someone else rich? It's time to shift your mindset. You are not just a worker, you are a builder, a creator. And creators don't wait, they make things happen. Making money is simple. You trade your time for a paycheck, you work harder, and maybe you make more. But generating wealth, that's a different game entirely. Here's the truth, if all you do is make money, you will always be chasing it. Because money disappears, you spend it. It comes and goes, wealth grows. Wealth gives you freedom. Wealth allows you to step away from work and still have your money working for you. The biggest mistake people make is thinking that more hours equals more success. That's an employee mindset. Wealth isn't built by working harder, it's built by working smarter. It's built by creating systems that make money for you even when you're not working. Look at the wealthiest people in the world. They don't just have jobs, they have assets. Businesses, investments, real estate, intellectual property, they own things that grow in value while they sleep. Meanwhile, the average person spends their whole life working for a paycheck that barely keeps up with inflation. So here's the question, do you want to keep making money, or do you want to build something that lasts? Do you want to stay on the hamster wheel, or do you want to own the whole machine? The choice is yours. Every day people sell their time, they wake up, clock in, trade hours for money, and repeat. But time is the most valuable thing you have. And once it's gone, you can't get it back. So why are you selling it so cheaply? Here's what you need to understand. People don't pay for time, they pay for value. They pay for results, for expertise, for things that make their lives easier or better. If you want to change your financial future, you have to stop thinking about how much time something takes and start thinking about how much value it provides. Think about it, two people can do the same job, but one gets paid 10 times more. Why? Because they bring 10 times the value. They don't just show up, they solve problems. They don't just do the job, they innovate, they lead. They lead. If you keep trading time for money, your income will always have a ceiling. There are only so many hours in a day. But if you start selling value, whether through a product or service or knowledge, you open the door to unlimited potential. It's time to stop thinking like a worker and start thinking like a problem solver. Stop clocking in and start asking yourself, how can I create something that people need? Because the moment you do that, you stop being replaceable. That's when everything changes. Building something that lasts, the choice is yours. But instead of spending your life working for someone else, you're building their dreams, not yours. You wake up, rush to work, put in the hours, and at the end of the month, you get your paycheck. Maybe it's enough to cover your bills. Maybe there's a little left for yourself. But here's the truth, no matter how hard you work, no matter how many hours you put in, you will always be limited. Limited by a salary, limited by someone else's decisions, limited by how much they think you're worth. Now let me ask you this, you that's rich in a company. The owner, the one who took the risk, built the system, and now sits at the top collecting the rewards. The employees, they stay stuck in the cycle, trading time for money year after year. And when you're done, what do you have to show for it? A few savings, maybe a small pension, but no real freedom, no real ownership of your time. And time is the real currency here. Because if you don't own your time, you don't own your life. Most people only look at what they're getting paid, but they never think about what they're losing. Being an employee has a hidden price, one that isn't written on your contract, but takes a toll on your entire life. First, there's the time tax. You give up 8, 10, sometimes 12 hours a day. Add commuting, stress, and exhaustion, and you're left with barely enough energy to enjoy what little time you have left. You trade the best years of your life to help someone else grow their business. Then there's the freedom tax. Want to take a vacation? You need permission. Want to spend more time with your family? You have to check your schedule. Want to pursue something new? You're tied to your job because you need that paycheck. And let's not forget the emotional tax, the stress, the pressure, the fear of losing your job, the feeling of being stuck. These things slowly eat away at you. You wake up one day and realize years have passed, and you're still in the same place, still waiting for that next promotion, still hoping for a raise that barely covers inflation. The biggest cost of being an employee isn't just money, it's the slow loss of control over your own life. And if you're not careful, you'll spend decades working for someone else, only to realize too late that you never truly lived for yourself. Here's what most people don't understand: earning a paycheck and building wealth are two completely different things. A paycheck is money you trade your time for. The moment you stop working, the money stops coming in. It's a cycle that keeps you dependent on your job. Wealth, on the other hand, isn't about working more hours. It's about creating something that makes money even when you're not working. It's about building assets, things that put money in your pocket instead of taking it out. A business, investments, real estates that allow you their own terms. Let's put it this way, two people can work the same 40-hour week. One earns a salary. The other builds something for themselves. After 5 years, one still has a job. The other has income streams that keep growing. The difference, one is just getting by. The other is creating freedom. So here's the real question, are you just working for money? Or are you building something that will one day work for you? Because if you're only earning a paycheck, you're always one step away from financial struggle. But if you start focusing on building wealth, you're taking back control. And control is the first step toward true freedom. Let me tell you something that most people never realize until it's too late. Working harder won't make you wealthy. If labor alone built wealth, the hardest working people on the planet would be the richest. But they're not. Look around. Who are the wealthiest people you know? Are they the ones clocking in every morning, sweating through long shifts, hoping for a raise? Or are they the ones who own things, the ones whose money works for them, even when they sleep? We've been taught that success comes from grinding, from putting in more hours, from working ourselves to exhaustion. But that's only part of the truth. Labor puts food on the table. Ownership builds empires. If you don't own something that grows in value over time, you will always trade your time for money. And time, that's the one thing you can never get back. The rich don't just work for money. They put their money to work. They don't just trade hours for a paycheck. They trade ideas, investments, and systems for long-term wealth. Ownership isn't a luxury. It's the only path to financial freedom. So ask yourself, are you building someone else's dream or your own? If you want to be wealthy, you need to stop thinking like a worker and start thinking like an owner. What do the rich own? 3 things: assets, systems, and leverage. Assets are things that grow in value over time: real estate, stocks, businesses, intellectual property. These are the things that put money in your pocket without you having to be present. An apartment complex earns rent. A well-invested stock pays dividends. A book course you create can sell over and over again. Systems are the structures that make money flow without constant effort. A business with employees. A website that generates passive income. A marketing funnel that works 24/7. Rich people don't do everything themselves. They build systems that do the work for them. Leverage is the most powerful tool of all. It's using other people's time, money, and skills to grow wealth faster. You think billionaires build their fortunes alone? No, they use other people's money to buy companies. They hire teams to scale businesses. They use technology to automate tasks. This is why 2 people can work the same 40 hours a week, but one becomes rich while the other struggles. The rich person's time multiplies because of assets, systems, and leverage. The struggling person, their time is spent working for someone else's dream. So the question is, are you just earning, or are you owning? You don't need millions to start owning. You don't need a trust fund, a lucky break, or a secret formula. You just need to start. Real estate, you don't have to buy a mansion to get started. Look at rental properties, house hacking, or even real estate investment trusts, REITs, that let you invest in real estate without owning physical property. Land appreciates. Homes generate rental income. And unlike a paycheck, they don't stop making money when you take a day off. Stocks. Instead of just earning money, make your money earn for you. Invest in dividend-paying stocks, index funds, and companies that grow in value. Every dollar invested today is a worker that never sleeps. Businesses, you don't need $1 billion idea. You need a solution to a problem. Sell a product, offer a service, build something people need. A business, big or small, gives you control. It lets you set your price, grow your income, and escape the cycle of trading time for money. Digital products, this is the new frontier. Courses, ebooks, templates, software, anything that can be created once and sold over and over again. This is how people are making money in their sleep. A digital product doesn't need inventory. It doesn't need a warehouse, it just needs demand. The bottom line, you don't have to stay stuck in the cycle of labor. You can start owning today. The question is, will you? Most people spend their entire lives working for money. They wake up early, put in long hours, collect a paycheck, and do it all over again. And no matter how hard they work, their money never seems to be enough. Now, let me ask you who's truly in control in that situation. You or the money you're chasing? The wealthy live differently. They don't run after money. They make money come to them. Instead of working for every dollar, they put their dollars to work. They invest, they own, they multiply. While others are trapped in a cycle of earning and spending, the wealthy create a cycle of investing and growing. Here's the reality. If you only make money by working, the day you stop working is the day your income stops. But when your money works for you through investments, assets, and ownership, it never stops earning. So which side are you on? Are you the person running after money, or are you the person making money work for you? Most people think the answer to their money problems is to earn more, a better job, a higher salary, more overtime. But let's be real, if earning more is the key to wealth, why aren't there doctors and lawyers drowning in debt while investors and business owners thrive? Because earning more isn't the answer, multiplying is. $1 saved is just $1. But $1 invested, that dollar can turn into 10, into 100, into 1,000. It's not about how much you earn. It's about how much you make your money grow. Think about a tree. You can collect fruit, eat it, and be satisfied for the moment. Or you can take some of those seeds, plant them, and grow an orchard that feeds you for life. That's what investing does. The poor focus on earning, the wealthy focus on multiplying. And the best part, you don't need millions to start investing, you just need to start. Let me tell you about two people. One spends every extra dollar on things that lose value, cars, gadgets, expensive clothes. The other takes that same money and puts it into asset stocks, real estate businesses. Fast forward 10 years, one is still working paycheck to paycheck. The other, their money has grown and they have the freedom to choose how they live. Look at someone like Warren Buffett. He didn't start rich, he started by investing small amounts. Over time, those small investments multiplied. Today, he's one of the richest people in the world, not because he worked harder than anyone else, but because he understood the power of growth. Or take the story of someone who starts with a simple rental property. They save up, buy a small apartment, rent it out. The rent pays the mortgage. A few years later, they buy another one, and another, until one day the rental income covers their expenses and they never have to work for a paycheck again. This isn't magic. It's not luck. It's ownership. It's growth. So the question is, what seeds are you planting today? Will you keep running in circles, or will you start building something that works for you? The choice is yours. Everything you have or don't have starts in your mind. The way you think about money, success, and opportunity decides what shows up in your life. If you believe money is evil, you'll avoid it. If you think wealth is only for a chosen few, you won't even try to create it. If you see yourself as someone who will never be rich, then guess what? You won't be. Your thoughts are like the soil where your financial future grows. Plant the wrong seeds and you'll never see results. But plant the right ones, beliefs of growth, learning, and action, and you open the door to possibilities you never imagined. Look around you. Every wealthy person started somewhere. Some came from nothing. Some had disadvantages. Some faced failures. The difference, they didn't let their past or their doubts control their future. They built a mindset that attracted success instead of rejecting it. What do you believe about money? Is it something you think you deserve? Or is it something you think is always out of reach? Because whatever you believe, you're proving yourself right every single day. Let's be honest. How many times have you heard someone say, that person just got lucky when talking about success? Maybe you've even thought it yourself. But here's the truth. Luck isn't what separates the rich from the broke. Decisions do. The people you call lucky took risks. They invested when others hesitated. They learned new skills while others made excuses. They saw opportunities where others only saw problems. Think about someone who wins the lottery. They get millions overnight, but most of them end up broke in a few years. Why? Because their mindset didn't change. They still saw money as something that could disappear instead of something they could grow. On the other hand, look at someone who starts with nothing and builds wealth. That's not luck. That's knowledge, action, and persistence. If you keep telling yourself that only the lucky get rich, you're giving yourself permission to stay where you are. Because if it's all luck, then there's nothing you can do right, wrong. Success isn't given. It's built. And the only question that matters is, are you willing to build it? So how do you change the way you think about money? How do you go from seeing limits to seeing possibilities? First, you have to stop speaking failure into your life. No more saying, I'll never be rich. No more thinking money's hard to get. Every time you say those things, you're programming yourself to stay broke. Second, you need to start learning how money works. Wealth isn't just about hard work, it's about smart work. It's about understanding investments, assets, and ownership. Third, surround yourself with the right influences. If you only listen to people who are struggling, you'll think struggle is normal. But if you listen to people who are winning, you'll start seeing what's possible. And finally, take action. Even small steps, read and vet. Because no matter that you change your mindset, it means nothing if you don't back it up with action. Stop thinking of money as something that only other people have. Stop believing in limits that don't exist. The opportunity is there. The question is, are you ready to see it? If you're not where you want to be financially, there's a reason. And most of the time, it's not because of your job, your background, or even your education. It's because of something deeper, a belief you've been carrying for years. Maybe you grew up hearing, money doesn't grow on trees. So now, every time an opportunity comes your way, you assume it's too risky or impossible. Maybe you were told rich people are greedy, so now without even realizing it, you sabotage your own success because deep down you don't want to become one of them. Or maybe you've convinced yourself that financial freedom is for someone else, that wealth is for people with better connections, better luck, or better when they're starting fine time. But let me ask you something, is that belief actually true? Because if you look at history, some of the wealthiest, most successful people started with nothing. No special advantages, no silver spoon, just a different mindset. So the real question is this: what's the belief that's keeping you stuck? What's the thought that plays in the back of your mind every time you think about success? Because until you face it, challenge it, and rewrite it, you'll stay exactly where you are. You can't build a wealthy life with a poor mindset. And a poor mindset isn't just about how much money you have, it's about how you see the world. Scarcity thinking says there's never enough, so you hold on too tight, too afraid to grow. Scarcity thinking says if someone else wins, I lose. So you waste time being jealous instead of learning from successful people. Scarcity thinking says I can't afford that, but a wealth building mentality asks, how can I afford that? The shift is simple but powerful. Instead of seeing limits, start looking for possibilities. Instead of avoiding challenges, start facing them. Instead of believing money is a struggle, start seeing it as a tool. This doesn't mean you wake up rich tomorrow. It means you start making decisions like someone who will be. You invest in learning. You take small, smart risks. You stop waiting for permission to build the life you want. Wealth isn't about luck. It's about seeing opportunity where others see problems. It's about creating instead of complaining. So ask yourself, are you thinking like someone who stays stuck or like someone who grows? Now that you know what's been holding you back, what are you going to do about it? Because there's a truth nobody is coming to save you. No one is going to knock on your door and hand you the life you want. No one is going to force you to change your habits. No one is going to drag you to success. That's on you. And that's the best news possible. Because it means you don't have to wait for anything or anyone. You can start today. Start by replacing the beliefs that keep you small. Start by surrounding yourself with people who think bigger. Start by learning how money actually works so you control it instead of letting it control you. Most people will keep waiting. Waiting for the right time, waiting for someone else to make the first move. But winners, they decide, they act, they build. So ask yourself right now, are you ready? Because your future isn't waiting. It's being created by the choices you make today. If you're struggling with money, the problem isn't just in your wallet, it's in your mind. Most people don't even realize the hidden beliefs that keep them stuck. Maybe you think making more money will make you a bad person. Maybe you believe that struggling is just part of life and that wealth is something only a few people can have. Or maybe you've convinced yourself that no matter what you do, you'll never get ahead. These beliefs don't just live in your thoughts, they show up in your choices. They show up when you avoid opportunities because they feel too good to be true. They show up when you don't invest in learning because you think it won't change anything. They show up when you settle for just enough because deep down you don't believe you deserve more. But let me tell you something, none of that is real. The only reason those beliefs feel true is because you've been repeating them for years. And the more you believe them, the more they shape your actions. So ask yourself, what is the thought that keeps you stuck? What do you tell yourself about money that stops you from growing? Because once you identify it, you can destroy it. And when you do, everything changes. How many times have you held yourself back because you were waiting for the right time, waiting for someone to tell you it's okay, waiting until you feel ready. And while you wait, life keeps moving. Other people keep growing and you stay exactly where you are. But here's the truth, no one is going to give you permission. Nobody's going to come along and say, hey, now it's your turn to be successful. Nobody's going to hand you an invitation to change your life. You either decide to take action or you keep waiting. And waiting has a cost. It costs you time. It costs you growth you could have built if you had started today. Think about the people you admire, the ones who made it. Do you think they were given permission? No, they took the shot. They stepped up before they felt ready. They started when everyone else was still making excuses. So ask yourself, how much longer are you willing to wait? Because success isn't given, it's taken. And the only one who can take it is you. A lot of the money advice people follow today is outdated, and worse is keeping them stuck. Work hard, save your money, and you'll be fine. Sounds good, right? But what if I told you that's not how wealth is built? Saving is important, but saving alone won't make you rich. Prices go up, the value of money drops, and if all you do is save, you're actually falling behind. Just get a stable job and stick with it. Stability is great, but in today's world, it's not enough. The economy changes, industries shift, and depending on a single paycheck is risky. Debt is bad, not all debt. The right kind of debt that helps you invest, grow, or build can be a tool. But if you fear all debt, you might be avoiding opportunities that could change your future. The problem isn't just bad advice, it's that people follow it blindly without questioning if it still works. And when they stay stuck, they wonder why. So here's the truth, you don't just need to work harder. You need to work smarter. You don't just need to save, you need to grow. You don't just need stability, you need options. And to do that, you have to stop listening to advice that was built for a different time. Look at the people who are winning today. What are they doing differently? Learn from them. Adapt, move forward, because staying stuck in old ways won't get you new results. Most people don't realize that their financial struggles aren't just about income, they're about what they believe. Think about the things you've heard about money growing up. Money doesn't grow on trees. Rich people are greedy. Making money is hard. You should just be grateful for what you have. These phrases sound harmless, but they shape the way you think. If you believe money is rare, you'll always feel like there's never enough. If you believe wealth is bad, you'll push it away without realizing it. Your mind creates your reality. A person who believes they can never be wealthy won't take steps toward wealth. A person who thinks financial success is out of their control won't make the right choices. A person who fears money will never learn how to use it wisely. So ask yourself, what's the belief that's holding you back? If you're struggling, it's not just about working harder, it's about thinking differently. You have to change the way you see money. You have to believe that growth is possible. You have to break free from the mindset that's keeping you stuck. Because once you do, opportunities start appearing. Not because they weren't there before, because now you're finally able to see them. Most people live in a cycle: work, get paid, spend, repeat. They rely on that paycheck like it's the only way to survive. And because of that, they never truly own their time. They trade hours for money, and once that money runs out, they have to do it all over again. That's not wealth. That's just survival. Let me ask you something. If your job disappeared tomorrow, how long could you stay afloat? A week, a month, a year. If the answer makes you uncomfortable, then you already know something needs to change. You have to stop thinking like a worker and start thinking like an owner. Stop depending on one paycheck and start creating other ways to grow your money. Stop trading time for survival and start building a future where money works for you. Because if you don't, you'll always be one step away from struggle. And you weren't meant to just get by. You were meant to build something better. If you want a different life, you can't just add new habits, you have to unlearn the ones that are keeping you stuck. Some of the biggest problems aren't things we need to start doing. They're things we need to stop doing. Stop waiting for the right time. There is no perfect moment to start. Stop blaming the system. The game might be rigged, but people still win. Stop thinking small. Playing it safe won't get you anywhere new. And most of all, stop surrounding yourself with people who think the same way you used to. If you spend your time with people who believe success is out of reach, that mindset will pull you down. But if you start learning from people who have built wealth, you'll see what's possible. This isn't about being lucky. It's about being willing to change. Because success isn't just about what you learn, it's about what you're willing to go of. Most people live their entire lives following one simple rule: work more, earn more. They wake up, put in the hours, collect the paycheck, and repeat. The harder they work, the more they expect to earn. But here's the truth: this cycle will never set you free. Why? Because time is limited. You only have 24 hours in a day. No matter how hard you work, no matter how many extra shifts you take, there's a ceiling on what you can earn. And as long as you rely on trading hours for money, you will always be trapped by that limit. Look at the wealthiest people in the world. Are they working 100 times harder than you? No, they've simply built systems where money keeps flowing even when they're not working. They've stepped out of the time for money trap. Now ask yourself, are you building income or are you just keeping yourself busy? If you want freedom, you need to stop thinking like a worker and start thinking like an owner. Because real wealth isn't made by working more, it's made by working smarter. If you want to break free, you need two things: skills that grow and money that works for you. Let's talk about skills first. Some skills pay you once, others keep paying forever. A cashier's skills only make money when they're working. A business owner's skills make money whether they're present or not. That's the difference between a skill that traps you and a skill that frees you. If your skills are stuck in one job, one role, one company, you're at risk. But if you build skills that grow in value and create income beyond your time, you take back control. Now let's talk about money. Most people think you need a fortune to start investing. That's not true. Small investments made consistently change everything over time. A few dollars saved and invested today can turn into thousands down the road. Small side hustle built over time can replace an entire salary. It's not about how much you start with, it's about whether you start at all. Because while others are waiting for the perfect time, the people whose small, steady steps forward are the ones who eventually win. You don't need millions to start. You don't even need thousands. You just need a shift in thinking. Ownership isn't about what you have, it's about how you use it. If you have a skill, use it to create something that lasts. If you have an idea, turn it into something that earns. If you have a little money, put it to work instead of letting it sit. Start with something simple. Sell a service. Build a small online store. Invest a small amount in a growing market. Learn how money moves instead of just spending it. Every wealthy person started somewhere. The only difference is they started, because in the end, freedom isn't about luck. And it's not about waiting. It's about choosing to own your future instead of renting it. And the choice to start, that's yours to make right now. Most people believe that making more money will solve their problems. They think that if they just earn a little more, life will get easier. But here's the truth, it's not about how much you make. It's about how much you keep and what you do with it. There are people earning six figures who are drowning in debt. And there are people making half as much who are steadily building wealth. Why? Because income doesn't create freedom, decisions do. If you spend everything you make, you're no different from someone earning half your salary. If every raise leads to bigger bills, you're not moving forward, you're just running faster on the same treadmill. Money doesn't fix bad habits, it only makes them bigger. So instead of chasing a bigger paycheck, start controlling the money you already have. Save a portion before you touch it. Invest it before you spend it. Put it to work before it disappears. Because it's not about working harder for money, it's about making money work for you. Money is a tool. You can either use it or you can waste it. The difference between those who stay stuck and those who get ahead comes down to one thing: how they use their money to build assets. What's an asset? Anything that makes you money even when you're not working. A savings account that earns interest. A rental property that pays you every month. A business that runs while you sleep. The problem is most people spend their money on things that take money away. They finance cars that lose value. They buy things to impress people who don't even notice. They trade long-term wealth for short-term comfort. But the wealthy, they don't spend money, they place it. They put it where it grows, where it multiplies, where it works harder than they do. And the best part, you don't need millions to start. Invest a little, buy assets that grow. Build something small that earns for you. Because over time, small decisions turn into big results. If you don't build assets, you will always have to work for money. But if you do, money will start working for you. Hard work is important, but if hard work alone created wealth, construction workers would be the richest people in the world. The truth is, wealth isn't built by working harder, it's built by working smarter. The wealthy don't trade more time for money. They build systems that keep earning even when they're not working. They don't grind harder, they set up income streams that flow on their own. They don't depend on one paycheck, they create multiple ways to earn. Look at any self-made millionaire. They didn't just work more hours. They figured out how to use their time, their skills, and their money in ways that multiply. That's the difference between staying busy and building wealth. So ask yourself, are you stuck sweating for every dollar? Or are you building something that will one day pay you back? Because in the end, wealth isn't just about effort. It's about knowing where to place that effort. Some people think wealth is a matter of luck. They look at successful people and assume they were born into it or had some unfair advantage. But here's the truth, wealth isn't something that just happens. It's something that's built step by step through choices. Every wealthy person you see today made decisions that put them on that path. They weren't just working harder, they were thinking ahead, planning, and making smart moves with their time and money. Look around. How many people do you know who've spent years working only to have nothing to show for it? How many still live paycheck to paycheck, waiting for something to change? Wealth isn't an accident. It's not something that appears one day out of nowhere. It's a result of decisions made over time, decisions about what to spend, what to invest in, and what to avoid. If you keep waiting for the right time, the right opportunity, or the right amount of money, you'll be waiting forever. The question is, are you making the choices that lead to wealth or the ones that keep you stuck? You don't build a house without a blueprint. You don't take a road trip without a map. Yet most people go through life without a plan for their money. They work, they spend, they survive, but they never take control. If you want financial freedom, you have to design it step by step. Step one, know where your money is going. Every dollar you make is either helping you build wealth or keeping you trapped. Track it. Understand it. Control it. Step two, cut what doesn't serve you. You don't need to deprive yourself, but you do need to intentional. If it's not helping you move forward, it's holding you back. Step three, start putting money to work. Investing isn't just for the wealthy, it's how people become wealthy. Whether it's stocks, real estate, or a small business, start somewhere. Step four, increase your income. Save, yes, but don't just rely on cutting back. Find ways to make more. Learn new skills, create multiple sources of income, and expand your opportunities. Step five, stay consistent. Wealth isn't built overnight. It's built through small, smart moves repeated over time. You either design your financial future or life will design it for you. Take a hard look at your daily habits. The way you spend, the way you save, the way you think about money. If you keep doing exactly what you're doing today, where will you be 5 years from now? If the answer makes you uncomfortable, then something needs to change. If you're spending everything you make, that needs to change. If you're not investing, that needs to change. If you're relying on one income stream, that needs to change. The good news, you have the power to change it. The choices you make today shape the life you'll live tomorrow. The question is, are you willing to do what it takes? Let's be real, if nothing changes, nothing changes. If you keep spending the way you do now, where will you be in 5 years? If you keep putting off investing, how will you ever build wealth? If you keep telling yourself, I'll start later, what makes you think later will be any different? Time doesn't wait. It moves whether using it wisely or wasting it. And here's the truth, your habits today are shaping your future whether you realize it or not. Look around, how many people do you know who regret not starting sooner? People who worked for decades but have little to show for it. They weren't lazy, they weren't incapable, they just kept doing the same thing expecting life to magically change. But life doesn't work that way. If you don't take control of your money will control you. So ask yourself, can you afford to keep ignoring this? Can you afford to keep waiting? Because every day you do, you're making a choice to stay where you are. Now, let's flip the script. What happens if you decide today is the day you stop waiting? What if you start tracking your money instead of wondering where it went? If you start investing, even if it's small, so your money begins working for you? What if you make the tough choices now, so 5 years from today, you don't have to struggle? Imagine waking up without financial stress. Imagine having the freedom to make choices based on what you want, not just what you can afford. Imagine building a life where money is a tool, not a trap. This isn't about being rich for the sake of being rich. It's about having freedom. The freedom to say yes to opportunities. The freedom to walk away from things that don't serve you. The freedom to live life on your terms. And that freedom starts with a decision. There is one thing that separates those who stay where they are from those who rise above. They decide to stop waiting. Not when they have more money. Not when the timing is perfect. Not when life is easier. They start where they are with what they have. Because here's the truth, there is no perfect time. The people who win in life aren't the ones who had an easy start. They're the ones who took control before they felt ready. So ask yourself, will today be the day you choose to move forward, or will it be another day of waiting? Because the only thing standing between where you are and where you want to be is the decision to start. For years, people were told the same story: work hard, stay loyal to one company, save a little from every paycheck, and someday you'll be set. That used to work, but not anymore. Look around. Wages aren't keeping up with prices. Jobs aren't as stable as they once were. And waiting for retirement, that's a dream fewer and fewer people get to see. The old way was built for a different time. A time when companies rewarded loyalty. A time when one job could support a family. A time when saving alone could make you wealthy. But times have changed. And if you're still following the same outdated advice, you'll be running a race that no longer leads to the finish line. So the question is, are you still playing by the old rules? Or are you ready to take control? Let's be real, the world is changing fast. Jobs that existed 10 years ago are disappearing. New industries are being created overnight. Technology is reshaping everything. This isn't something to fear, it's something to understand, because with every change comes opportunity. The people who pay attention, who learn new skills, who adapt, they're the ones who get ahead. But the ones who ignore it, the ones who keep doing the same thing, hoping things will return to how they were, they struggle. They get left behind. You have two choices. You can learn how to move with the changes, or you can let the changes move past you. Which side will you be on? History has shown this over and over. Those who refuse to adapt don't just struggle, they get replaced. Think about businesses that failed because they didn't change. Blockbuster laughed at Netflix. Taxi companies ignored ride sharing. Retail giants ignored online shopping, and now they're gone. People are no different. If you refuse to learn new skills, someone else will. If you refuse to take control of your finances, the system will do it for you. If you wait too long to change, the world won't wait with you. The choice is clear. You can either take control and move forward, or stay the same and fall behind. So what will it be? Will you keep following outdated advice, or will you take the steps needed to create a future that actually works for you? Too many people think success is just about making more money. They believe that if they could just earn a little extra, everything would fall into place. But let me tell you something, this isn't just about money. This is about control. Control over your time, control over your choices, control over your future. Because what good is money if you're still stuck in a life you don't want? What good is a paycheck if you're still answering to people who don't respect you? What good is financial growth if your mind, your health, and your freedom are still trapped? Money is just a tool. The real prize is the power to wake up every morning and decide how your life will go. It's the ability to say no to what doesn't serve you. It's the freedom to walk away from anything that isn't right. Success isn't about numbers in a bank account. It's about taking your power back. Are you truly living life on your terms? Be honest, are you living the life you want? Or are you living the life that happened to you? Most people wake up, go to work, come home, and repeat. Not because they want to, but because they feel like they have no other choice. They tell themselves this is just how it is. They settle for routines that drain them. They make decisions based on fear instead of desire. But here's the truth, you always have a choice. The question is, are you making the choices that lead to the life you want, or are you making the ones that keep you stuck? Because life on your terms doesn't happen by accident. It happens when you decide that the way things have been is no longer the way they will be. It happens when you stop waiting for the perfect moment and start creating it. So ask yourself, is this really the life you want? And if not, what are you going to do about it? The real cost of staying stuck every day you stay stuck is a day you'll never get back. That's the price you're paying. And it's more expensive than you think. Think about it. Every day you delay action is a day lost. Every time you let fear win, an opportunity disappears. Every moment you waste waiting for things to change, someone else is out there making it happen. Time doesn't wait, neither does success, neither does happiness. And the longer you stay in the same place, the harder it gets to break free. It's like sinking into quicksand. At first you don't notice, but the more you wait, the deeper you go. But the good news, you're not stuck. Unless you choose to ask yourself, how much more of your life are you willing to trade for comfort? How many more dreams are you willing to let slip away? Because at some point you have to decide, will you keep paying the price of staying the same? Or will you invest in the cost of change? A lot of people think the solution to their problems is just working more hours. They wake up early, stay late, sacrifice their weekends thinking that if they just grind harder, eventually they'll get ahead. But let me ask you, how many people do you know who have been working hard their entire lives and are still stuck? The problem isn't the hours, it's what you're doing with them. Because you can work 16 hours a day, but if those hours are long else, or else you're journeying on a treadmill, being sweating, exhausted, but never getting anywhere. Ownership is the difference. Ownership of your skills, ownership of your choices, ownership of your future. Look at the people who are truly free. They aren't clocking in for more hours. They aren't asking for permission. They own something, whether it's a business, a brand, an idea, or a skill so valuable that people come to them. If you keep trading your time for money, you will always have a limit. But when you take ownership of what you do, you create something that works for you even when you're not working. So stop thinking you need more hours in the day. What you really need is more control over how those hours are spent. Most people are running after money like it's some kind of prize at the end of a race. They chase every opportunity, jump at every paycheck, stretch themselves thin only to end up feeling exhausted and still broke. Why? Because money isn't something you chase, it's something you attract. Look at the wealthiest, most successful people. They're not running around desperate for another dollar. The money comes to them. Not because they got lucky, not because they had connections, but because they built something valuable. Money follows value. If you're not making what you want, the question isn't how do I find more money? The question is how do I make myself more valuable? What skills do you have? What knowledge do you bring? What problems can you solve? Because when you become valuable, money will find you. People will seek you out. Opportunities will come knocking. Stop chasing. Start building. For years, people have been told that hard work is the key to success. And while effort is important to me, be clear, hard work alone won't get you where you want to be. If working hard was the answer, the hardest working people in the world would be the richest. But they're not. Because it's not just about effort, it's about direction. Imagine two people digging a tunnel. One is using a shovel, working day and night, dripping with sweat. The other is using a drill, moving faster with half the effort. Who's going to finish first? It's not about how much you do, it's about how effective you are. You need to learn what actually moves the needle. Where should you focus? What's giving you the best return? What's wasting your time? Smart work means leveraging your time, your skills, and the right tools. It means learning from those who have already figured it out instead of trying to reinvent everything yourself. So stop wearing struggle like a badge of honor. Success isn't about burning yourself out. It's about finding the smartest way to get where you want to go and then doing it with everything you've got. People love hearing powerful words. They listen to speeches, read books, watch videos that light a fire inside them. They get inspired. They feel motivated. They tell themselves, this time I'm going to change. And then nothing happens. The fire burns for a few hours, maybe a few days, then life gets in the way. The same habits creep back in. The same distractions pull them off track. And before they know it, they're right back where they started waiting for the next spark of motivation to come along. Let me tell you something, knowing the truth is worthless if you don't act on it. You already know what you need to do. You've cured it before. Work on your skills. Stop wasting time. Take control of your future. But the real question is, what are you going to do about it? Because most people, they do nothing. They nod their heads. They agree. And then they go right back to their comfort zones. But you have a choice. You can decide right now that you're not everyone else. That when you hear the truth, you use it you'll stop waiting, stop hesitating, stop overthinking, and start doing. Because the truth alone won't change your life. Only action will. Every single day you are making a choice whether you realize it or not. You're either leading your life or you're following someone else's plan for you. Look around. Most people are just going with the flow. They do what they're told. They follow the rules. They take the path that's already laid out for them, never stopping to ask, is this even where I want to go? And then years later, they wonder why they feel lost, why they're stuck in a life that doesn't excite them, why they wake up every day feeling like something is missing. It's because they never took control. You can't drift your way into a life you love. If you're not making decisions for yourself, someone else is making them for you. Your boss, your family, society. So ask yourself, who's really in charge of your life? Are you creating your own path, or are you just following one that was handed to you? Because there's no middle ground. You're either in control or you're being controlled. If you want more, you have to step up. Stop waiting for permission. Stop looking for approval. Take the lead. Because if you don't, you'll spend your life working for someone who did. Right now in this moment, you are at a crossroads. The choices you make today, what you do, what you get, what you commit to will shape the next 5 years of your life. And here's the hard truth, where you are today is the result of the decisions you made 5 years ago. If you're struggling, if you feel stuck, if you're not where you want to be, it's because of past choices. And if you don't change something today, 5 years from now, you'll be in the exact same place. Think about that for a second. Do you really want to wake up 5 years from now feeling the same frustration? The same regrets? The same lack of progress? Or do you want to look back and say, that was the moment I changed everything? Because that moment is now, not tomorrow, not next week. Now, it starts with one decision. One step in the right direction. One choice to stop making excuses and start building the life you actually want. Because 5 years will pass either way. The only question is, will you be proud of what you did with them? How many times have you told yourself, I'll start tomorrow? How many times have you said, I just need a little more time, a little more energy, a little more motivation? And yet tomorrow comes and nothing changes. The truth is, you don't need more time. You don't need more energy. You don't even need more motivation. You need to stop making excuses and start taking action. Because waiting won't get you there, wishing won't make it happen. And hoping that someday everything will magically fall into place. That's a lie we tell ourselves to stay comfortable. Look, nobody is coming to save you. Nobody is going to force you to change. It's on you. You have two choices: keep making excuses or get up and do something about it. And I know what you might be thinking, but it's hard. Of course it's hard. If it were easy, everyone would be doing it. But the people who succeed, the people who build the life they want, they don't wait for the perfect moment. They don't let their fears, doubts, or past failures stop them. They move forward no matter what. So ask yourself, are you really going to keep waiting? Or is today the day you finally get up and take control? Because the only thing standing between you and the life you want is the action you refuse to take. Life doesn't send reminders. It doesn't tap you on the shoulder and say, hey, it's time to get serious. It just keeps moving whether you're ready or not. But right now, at this very moment, this is your wake-up call. This is that moment people look back on years later and say, that was the day everything changed. The question is, what's it going to be for you? Are you going to ignore this and go back to your usual habits? Back to waiting, hesitating, and making the same empty promises to yourself? Or are you going to finally draw the line and say, enough is enough? Because this isn't about what you could do. It's about what you will do. You have a choice right now. You can take control of your future, or you can decide it for you. But one thing is certain: if you don't wake up now, one day you'll wish you had.